Hey there, want to start a food truck business? Before applying for licenses, getting a business loan, and buying a food truck, put together a business plan first. By the way, you can download a free food truck business plan template in the description below. There's no need to enter your email address or anything like that to get it either. Download it and get started on this right away. Ready to start a profitable food truck? Here's how to build a rock solid plan. So before we get into this, I want to ask you if you even need a business plan. Don't get me wrong, a business plan is very valuable, but for most food truck vendors, the reality is you don't need one to get a loan or secure private equity funding. This is a small business that you're usually going to bootstrap. So if the idea of spending a couple weeks or months writing a business plan is what's holding you back, just don't write one. Instead, I would create a pitch deck, which is essentially a stripped down version of the business plan that covers the most important points of your business and can be made in a PowerPoint document. I've included a link to the pitch deck below as well if you want to go that shorter route instead. So what are the most important areas of the business plan or pitch deck to focus on? I want you to focus on understanding the menu, ingredient costs, startup costs, and your vending routes and licenses. Now, if you look at the business plan, I want you to start with the product line and services area of the document. This is where you're going to start brainstorming a menu. Let's face it, the success of the food truck begins and ends with the menu. Ideally, you're looking for three things in your food truck menu. It's got to be a food product that people actually want. Like I always say, you don't need to look hard to find the menus that customers are willing to spend money on. How many burger joints are there in your city? How many taco shops? The most in-demand menus are the ones that are literally right in front of you already. Next, is there a way to put a unique spin on this menu that you want to make? There are all sorts of ways to do this. To stand out, you could serve ethnic food or put just a unique spin on some of the more popular items that are out there. So for example, if you're opening a burger truck, some ideas to make this concept unique. For example, you could sell organic burger patties, maybe use pretzel buns, create in-house sauces, or sell sliders. I bet you can think of all sorts of other ways to make a burger unique. I'll leave that work to you. Finally, you've got to have a profitable menu. You've got to have money that hits the bottom line after you pay for the taxes, the food ingredient costs, insurance, wages, all that sort of thing. Again, some of the most profitable menu items are literally right in front of you if you need examples. I always like to look towards the old school food stalls and the people that you see at carnivals and fairs for inspiration here. These are the people that know about food product costs the most. You'll find some of these high profit concepts include hot dogs, shaved ice, coffee, kettle corn, French fries with sour cream cheese, and other stuff dumped onto it. You get the idea. Take, for example, the cost of making a kettle corn bag, just like this one. When you add up the cost of popcorn kernels, cooking oil, seasoning, the plastic bag, a little bag tie, for example, all this added up together is only going to be $1.50 to $2 to make a single bag. Whereas most kettle corn vendors can turn around and sell that same bag for between $5 and $7 a bag. This is a profit margin of more than 100% in some cases. Now, of course, not all menus are going to be this profitable. That's totally okay, but the bottom line is whatever menu you decide to sell, you want to make sure there's plenty of room in there for profit. After you get clear on the menu, it's time to focus on sourcing ingredients and startup costs. You can keep this information in the product line and services section of the business plan as well. Now that you know what you're going to serve on the menu, you can start figuring out what you'll need to invest in. First, write down all the ingredients needed to serve your menu. Find out where you're going to actually source those ingredients to and how much each item is going to cost. Don't forget to include the cost of packaging too. If you're going to be using boxes or handing out plastic cutlery with each meal, make sure to include that in your total cost. Next, start writing down the cooking equipment you'll need to make each item on the menu. Write down the price of all the equipment based on what you can find on websites like webstaurantstore.com to get a good estimate. Now, you're going to need all of this information written out before you start looking for a food truck or trailer to purchase. Until you understand the equipment that you need installed onto a truck, you don't ever want to buy anything. So at this point in the business planning process, if you followed the steps in this video, you're going to have a clear understanding of what your menu is, where you're going to source the ingredients from, and what equipment you're going to need to buy and install into the food truck. At this point, I finally give you permission to start looking at used or new food trucks for sale that fit your needs to find out what they're going to cost you. My choice for food truck builders is mr-trailers.com. They are based out of Florida and they build fantastic food trucks, offer free quotes on all of their builds, and support after the sale. Now, after you gather this startup cost information, find out what it costs to get all the different licenses or permits to open the truck in your area. And I would even consider creating an LLC for the food truck so that you protect your personal assets too. I've included a link to the company I use to form my LLC in the description below, so you can check it out. Add up all these costs, enter that number into the funding requests section of the business plan. Before you open the food truck business, you need to know how much it's going to cost you. This process gets you there. And being detailed in this process is going to help you get as close of an estimate to this number as possible. Just a ballpark figure, most food trucks do cost $50,000 to $100,000 when you consider all-in expenses like cooking equipment, fees, truck or trailer, initial inventory, everything. So just keep that in mind. Next, let's move on to the sales and marketing section of the business plan. Here's another area you're going to want to get really specific about. Since you're starting a food truck, I recommend creating a vending route where you can sell food. I recommend finding specific places that you want to vend in your area, from farmers markets, flea markets, food truck rallies, and other places like wineries and breweries that allow food trucks to vend. Write down this list where you plan to vend and start writing down the contact information and telephone numbers, email addresses for all of these prospective vending locations too. I suggest coming up with at least 20 locations that you can reach out to and see if you'll be able to sell there. You can put all this information straight into the sales and marketing section. This is how the business plan becomes a living document that can actually help grow and build your business. Finally, don't stress out about the formatting of the business plan or making it the prettiest Word document on the planet. Instead, use the business plan to get clear on your startup costs and get clarity on the game plan for your business. As mentioned earlier, I've got a more detailed food truck business plan and podcast that walk you step by step through the finer points of the process, but this is the main areas that I would focus on for your plan. Let me know what kind of food truck you're thinking about starting in the comments section below, and thanks so much for watching.